Yeah. Woo. Yeah. No alarms, no suits, no ties. Just me and my sweatpants light. A coffee mug that never runs dry. No boss to ask me why. 21 days of freedom, yeah, yeah, yeah. No emails, no meetings, no drama, yeah, yeah. Dance in the kitchen like I just don't care. 21 days of freedom, yeah, 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 yeah. Mail still coming slow as snails, but I'm out here chasing tails, hey. My dog's my co-worker now, and he never raises his brow. Wi-Fi's down, but the vibe's still high. Who needs a paycheck when the sun's that bright? 21 days of freedom, yeah. No red tape, no budget scare. Living like a billionaire in my underwear. 21 days of freedom, yeah, 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 yeah.
Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
Hello. This is Safety Wars for Tuesday. Oh, yeah, let's start that over. This is Safety Wars for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. How's everybody doing out there? I tell you what, thank you for all the birthday wishes last week. It means more to me than what I can even describe. More to me than what you know. Even what I can, anything, you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning. At a certain point, we're going to switch over to politics. I know everybody's like, I can't handle it. There's 2 weeks left to the mayoral election in New York. We're 2 weeks to the election in New Jersey, which we talked about with Paul Daniels earlier in the year. We have all the local initiatives. We got 7 million people out there in, marching over the weekend. We have violence in Portland. We have violence in Denver. Everybody else is having fun. Yeah, well, hey, I tell you what, if they can have fun, I can have fun. Of course, we can have fun. The AI music about the shutdown. But we're going to be revisiting this Missouri. So my plan is at roughly 30 minutes after the hour, we go into politics, because I gotta talk about it. So what are we going to talk about at the beginning here? I'm going to say this. Back in, 2004, I got tired of having these safety meetings that were, I'll call them hard hat and safety glasses safety meetings. You say, well, Jim, what does that mean, hard hat and safety glasses meetings? Well, everybody in the industry, and I work on these big refining jobs, big environmental cleanups. They pull in people from all over. They get, whether it's the traveling road show that goes around, as we used to call it, whether it's the embedded contractors that they pull in at the oil refineries, big spills, things of that nature. I work on these jobs, a lot of them. And, if you want to work with me, 845-269-5772. And what happens is, on all of these jobs, I'm trying to get comfortable here, these chairs a nightmare here. So what we learned on these jobs was people come in, a lot of them have training already, whether it's the OSHA outreach courses, which are all awareness level courses. So they don't actually certify you in anything. People in New York City should know that. And it's not from the person who wrote the law, who wrote the regulations and the guidelines. I spoke to him. He's a colleague of mine here in New Jersey. I'm not going to put his name out there because, there'll be repercussions here from angry people. Right, and he explained to the New York City legislators, hey, you can't do this, blah, 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 in one freaking ear and out the other. Why? Because they had to do something. They have to do something. They had all these, we have to do something. Rather than calling in people like him would be number one before they pass legislation. People like Todd, people like me, people like any number of the people on our network, Jay Allen, outside our network, multiple people they could have called in as consultants and would have been happy to help them write the law. Not for free necessarily, but they would have been happy to write the law for a reasonable price. And now we have a regulatory nightmare, but I digress. We're going to talk more about New York City in the second half of the program. So what's my point, right? We become hated. Another point, how COVID was managed and is still being managed right, by a lot of organizations, by a lot of governments, and everything else. We did not like the way it was done. And how was it? Well, you know what? This is what companies said. I cannot piss off my employees that much. So we're going to have to go and we're going to hire a safety person. They're only going to be here for part-time. Or we're going to hire our consultant. Let our consultant manage this. Then we end up having to explain the government response, the government, what's the word I'm looking for? The way things are being managed. Right? And of course, even though, and the government will say, well, those are only guidelines. Now they're saying that back in the day, they weren't saying that stuff. There's still lawsuits outstanding out there. But we know how that goes as a safety person. You're not following the guidelines, therefore you're a bad company and you're evil people. What happens? We become hated. Another thing that undermines us, and going back to the 2004 thing, was I decided to stop talking about stuff, and try to elevate the conversation. It didn't go well. I had to work on my shtick, and it took many years to develop our shtick. Now we're being called. I'm getting calls on to be a keynote speaker or be a speaker this week on something, last minute call. And so we're going, but I'm getting off topic here. The conversations you have on those safety meetings and how they're presented, how they're managed, whether it's a daily one, a weekly one, monthly one, annual one, that tells a lot about you. Are you making that connection with the people? Because I tell you what, these people, they're traveling road shows and everything, they hear it from all over. Oh, hard hats, safety glasses, fire retardant clothing. Cut level 3 gloves now. Hearing protection. And then they get a thing, ANSI Z87, it goes in one ear and out the other, like they're wearing hearing protection, right? Right. They can't, they ignore you, right? And then what happens? You lose them. You got to wear your hard hat, and this is how a hard hat will help you. And then it went into, no, these are gloves, and you got to wear cut level 3 gloves. Well, what does that mean? I don't know, but you got to wear them. And it goes on, and it undermines us. The other thing is this. I did an introduction to HOP class this morning. And one of the things that resonated with people, and I've done this dozens of times at this point, one of the big things that resonates with people is how you react to failure matters. Real simple. How you react to failure matters. They said, and I'm going to share the story about my friend Dave. I'm trying to get him on this podcast, but he's, or on this program, whatever we're calling it. And I said, well, Dave, I set him up a couple years ago. I said, Dave, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go and tell me, you're going to say to me during the safety meeting, Jimmy, put on your safety glasses. And he says, why? You're in a trailer. You don't have to worry. I said, just tell me. Just ask. And he said, okay. And I knew that Dave could handle this and he would get a kick out of this. And he says, Jimmy, put on your safety glasses. So then I let into him. Who the hell are you to tell me to wear my safety glasses? I'm the one who taught you about safety glasses. And it went on for like 5 minutes. It seemed like 5 minutes, probably closer to 2 minutes. On and on. And he felt, ugh. I said, now, we all know that I'm joking with Dave here. I said, this is a joke, right? They said, well, it didn't look like a joke. I said, yeah, but it's a joke. I said, but it was real life yesterday for somebody, because somebody here got told to put on their safety glasses by a coworker, and they were cursed out in Polish. They were using the C word and everything. Polish should know what that is. And now, what was the reaction? So I said to Dave, after I reamed you out, are you going to tell me to wear my safety glasses? No. I said, now, that's what your reaction matters. Your failure, right? The failure to wear safety, your reaction, never mind, it matters. And this is how corporate culture is. If you're continuously giving people an adversarial situation, especially if you're a safety person, remember, normally you do not have the right to hire, fire, discipline, make changes, or manage the work. That's normally not the case. And by the way, my disagreement with the ASSP and the VCSP is that that's their philosophy. The safety person is off to the side. Right? Doesn't get involved in these human resource issues. Okay, fair enough. That's how companies want to play it. But on the other hand, people think that you have that authority, and they're like, well, why aren't you using it? And then what happens? You go out on these jobs. Well, how come you're not enforcing the rules? Well, I have no enforcement, right? And then back in the day, now it's, and I said this to somebody on one of my last projects. A client comes up, they're not doing X, Y, and Z. Well, I told them to do X, Y, and Z. I'm a third party person here. They were told to do it. They were told to do it in writing. They were told to do it verbally. Well, how come they're not doing it? I don't have the authority to hire. I don't have the authority to fire. I don't have the authority to discipline. I don't have the authority to manage. I don't have authority to do anything with them. So we try our best. We do it. But you know what? Guess who has that? That person over there. Let's go over and talk to him. It happened here in the current project I'm on. Well, Jim, okay. All right, let's go over and talk to so-and-so. Well, why are we talking to him? You're the safety guy. I don't have the authority to hire. I don't have the authority to fire. I don't have the authority to discipline. It goes all the way down. I've been talking about this probably since day one of the show back in 2001 or 2020. I forget, whatever it was. 489 programs ago. And this is right. This way, it's not that you're deflecting. You're there to save people's lives. And that's what we're all about, saving people's lives, protecting human life. Right? Life, property, environment. So now what else do we want to talk about? Love your fellow man. Or we'll say fellow human. Right, the golden rule, do unto others as you wish them to do to you, right? We all know that. The Bible says a little bit differently, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Share it with the world. Sometimes they throw it in there if you want a sloganeer. Pretty much every mainstream religion has that in there. Every philosophy. It even goes beyond that. Secular world. Treat others how you want to be treated. Why do I bring this up? So there was this story, a guy by the name of, what was his son's name was Adam, and it was a Polish guy, right? It was a Polish company. And I said to him, and he said, I'm not freaking telling I'm not the foreman, I'm not telling the coworker, blah, 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 blah. To correct anything, I'm not getting paid to do that. I said to him, your son works there, Adam, right? He says, yes. He works there. I said, okay. He's what, 18, 19? I said, if your son was doing something wrong, well, that could get him killed or seriously hurt, would you want one of your coworkers to let him know, to try to correct him? He says, yeah. I said, okay. Well, every one of these coworkers is someone's son, someone's father, someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's brother. Someone has a family. All I'm asking for you to do is what you expect other people to do. You want other people to do. And then it clicked, and it said, he said, you know what? You're right. We have the other, on the other end too, right? Ask questions. You're dealing with a major catastrophe or a personal injury or a workplace, you're dealing with something. Everyone's so upset. Now you're going to say, well, okay, everyone's all upset. Oh, well, and then you hear, well, tell me about it. Oh, he was a good worker. He was a good friend. He was this. I'm going to miss him. I love it. And then you hear about this going on for about a year right? And it's it's genuine at the beginning. No doubt about it. It's genuine at the end, most likely. Sometimes it isn't. 5 years later, you find out the real story of what happened to the accident after all the lawsuits are done. And everything that's been settled. That's the other thing. So you go out, and you hear this again and again and again. And I said, you really loved the guy, right? Yeah. Well, you obviously didn't love him enough to make him to put on a harness. Tell him to put on a harness, or remind him, put on a harness. And then, that was below the belt. Maybe it was below the belt, but guess what? Truth is sometimes raw. Truth is sometimes harsh. That's why we have this here, right?
From the front lines of the safety war, it's Safety Wars, with your host, Jim Posel on Safety FM. Get ready to face the harsh reality.
Harsh reality. But as we go along in our HOP journey here, human organizational journey, you realize that why do people do what they do is because of incentive. The reason why they don't warn people of anything, why? Because there's an incentive not to. Whether it's the company actually gives a financial incentive saying you get this job done, you skip steps, you get the job done, get her done, and you skip steps, and now you get the job done a week ahead of time. Guess what? That's an incentive. You go to the next job. Add a boy, add a girl. Maybe they put a little bit of bling in your pocket, give you a couple of days off. That's an incentive. Maybe the incentive is not only getting ahead of schedule, under budget. Maybe because you're not wasting 10 minutes a day doing a safety meeting in the morning, or 5 minutes a day doing a huddle. Maybe it's, we don't need no stinking safety guy here, or safety gal. Guess what? We're not going to hire one. I'll handle it. And then you go through all the way through. You mumble your way through. You have your 14-year-old child at home do all your safety paperwork for you, do all the reports, blah, 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 blah. You don't have to pay. Maybe you pay them a pittance, or maybe they just have something to do. They want to help mom and dad out. Right? Blah, blah, blah. Now, we save money on this, we save money on that. That's the incentive. We didn't have to deal with any stinking safety guy, blah, 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 blah. We've been on jobs like that. You're in construction environment. Now that's an incentive. And you have all these built-in incentives. They may be perverse. And that's why it doesn't happen. It's not that they don't love the person, they don't like the person, but that's why it happened. They have an incentive. They want the incentive more. Or, hey, I don't want to be told to do something. You don't tell me to do something, like in our previous example. Why do I mention this? Going back to the safety meetings, right, that was started out for. Reason being is that people don't want to hear the same crap over and over and over again. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear the same stuff. So I challenge people on the safety meetings and all of these trainings to give them information that they would not normally have, to show them real-world examples. And if you're interested in that, give us a call, 845-269-5772 or jim@safetywars.com. Now, going on with all of this, we're going to go to a brief commercial break. And where are we at? We're at about 21 minutes. I tell you what, let's cover a couple of news stories here. So the government now, like our opening song said, 21 days into this. How's it impacting OSHA here? So this is from Dave Blanchard from EHS Today yesterday. Safety leaders suggest that OSHA should focus on updating standards, enhancing training programs, and applying regulations more broadly to improve workplace safety. OSHA staffing has decreased, right? There's an article in, right, The Incredible Shrink in OSHA. OSHA staffing has decreased by 44% since 1980, reducing inspector-to-worker ratios and impacting enforcement capabilities. Well, I don't know. Since 1980, a lot of Democrats were elected then, weren't they? And liberals. Okay, let me point that out. The agency faces criticism for focusing on outdated standards and reactive investigations rather than proactive safety measures. Well, there's been a suggestion to get rid of the CSP, and CSP is supposed to be one of those agencies, one of those organizations, as I recall, formed in the mid-1990s, 98, 97, in that era, right, to go and do that. I mean, to go and focusing on proactive safety things. Investigate and then report back. Hey, this is what needs to happen. David Keeling's goals include adopting new technologies, enhancing collaboration, preventing incidents through predictive analytics. We all know, if you're in the safety industry, predictive analytics sometimes work, but usually don't. Why? Again, what's your job as safety manager? Going out there and auditing people, leadership positions, managing things, doing industrial hygiene audits, things of that nature. To go and talk about key performance indicators, there's a right buzzword for you, and trying to treat them, these subjective observations we make, as objective observations, and then try to predict behavior on that. I don't think that's the way we want to go. If you recall, like a year ago, we did a story how in China, they're actually putting helmets on workers to measure brain activity while they're working, and then penalizing them is what the long-term thing is if they don't focus on their job. Is that what we want to do? Something along those lines? Or do we want to have somebody walk around with their freaking iPad? Oh, and they don't tell you what they're doing. They're just watching you. Oh, that doesn't happen? Oh, there's an Amazon. I said it. There's an Amazon warehouse out there where they do that. Concerns remain about the effects of government shutdowns and budget cuts on OSHA's ability and to protect the workers. So going on, and the article says, let me see here. At this writing, the shutdown is much unresolved, but in a larger sense, OSHA has been in something of a holding pattern for almost the entire year, along with other federal agencies involved in workplace safety, such as NIOSH, EPA, and MSHA. Funding for these agencies under Trump 2.0 has been dramatically curtailed, repeating a pattern of cutbacks seen during the first Trump presidency, with the number of employees responsible for health and safety of the country's workers increasingly significant. But in fact, OSHA has been shrinking for years and actually for decades. Right. Of course, reducing the size of government bureaucracies is often seen by voters as a good thing, which helps explain why politicians frequently target federal agencies. Going on and on and on. So in EHS today, 2025 National Safety Salary Survey, respondents had a chance of weighing on their thoughts. Right, for this, following as a sample. 1, focus on updating outdated standards to reflect modern working environments. Okay, now if a standard is, in my opinion, standard is in opposition to newer technologies and techniques, then it needs to be updated. But remember, OSHA standards are the minimum. And who manages that? Develop, in your workplace, you or somebody else. Develop programs for colleges and universities that can help train for safety careers. Yes, I've been involved with that. A couple of people who I have taught in the university have. They've done that. Enact the heat stress and ergonomics standards. Right, focus on bad actors. Leave those of us who take safety seriously, leave those everybody else alone. Well, I tell you what, the bad actors are convinced that they are doing the right thing. Practical on-site enforcement and education helps small businesses grow in their safety programs and not be safety cops. Again, that's what human organizational performance is all about. Guys, building those safety cultures. Apply regulations to owners and general contractors, rather than just employer-employee relationships. All right, so audit more and increase fines for blatant unsafe conditions and stop weakening safety, right? Regulations. What's one thing you would most like to see OSHA do less of? Public shaming. It doesn't move the needle on the workplace safety, no, it becomes more of a distraction and a deterrent. I disagree. I think that every one of these safety citations and everything else that they do should be way 100% online, and there should be no Freedom of Information Act requests required to get them. Biden was very good about issuing press releases. Trump not so much on this, right? It doesn't move the needle on workplace safety yet, but we do learn, if you take advantage, you do learn what other people are going through. Maybe you can wash them, right, or some remove names, things of that nature like we do here. But that would probably be, that would be better. We need the information. Why? We need data-driven decisions. So here we are telling people we're telling people do not shame and blame or anything else, all right, on one hand, but then we're doing it on the other. Right? I don't know. With that. Create burdensome regulations that are convoluted. I still say, not to confuse anyone, I think all of their reports and all their paperwork should be online. With that. Create burdensome regulations that are convoluted, hard, comply with time-consuming and expensive, right? So they should stop doing. Laying off OSHA employees, relying heavily on reactive investigations. Stop downsizing OSHA staff. Focus less on DEI. Stop pitting employees against employers and implementing and enforcing policies that don't inherently make workers safe. Stop thinking that the more inspections that are conducted, the safer the companies will be, and dropping safety requirements. Right? At its confirmation hearing before the Senate, David Keeling said his three main goals are accelerate the adoption and use of technology and predictive analytics for regulatory oversight and rulemaking. 2, expand cooperation and collaboration between professional groups, companies, and unions while modernizing VPP. And transfer enforcement through the use of predictive analytics to prevent incidents, right? And then it says we wish him well. At the end, it's a pretty good article here. Now, what would I like? I would like to see a lot of that stuff up there. I would have to really think about it. But as I always say, don't worry about what OSHA is going to do. Worry about your organization, how you're going to do better at your organization in your community and then on the wider area there. Right? So what else we got here? Before we go into politics. Okay, so on the government shutdown here. Government shutdown on day 21, this is from CBS News. Republicans met President Trump over lunch in the White House on day 21 on the government shutdown, where they presented a unified front to call for Democrats to vote for extended funding. On Monday, the Senate failed for the 11th time to advance a House-passed measure to fund the government. The president said Republicans will not be extorted into giving the Democrats' demands, an indication that any end to the shutdown remains far off. And House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune both said Tuesday morning that the November 21st funding deadline in the GOP bill may need to be extended if the shutdown continues to drag on. And Johnson and Democrats are eating up the clock. That's what's going on. That's from CBS News, not from a Republican thing, right? So that's on over, right? And again, we mentioned that. I have redundant stories here. All right, Blue City Mayor rocked as gunfire hits home. Says none of us are immune from crime. Stockton Mayor Christina Fugazi says an incident strengthens her commitment to neighborhood safety. I guess that is California, Stockton, California, and not New Jersey. California mayor's home was struck by gunfire over the weekend during a nearby shooting that police believe was gang-related. Right, she doesn't appear to be targeted. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. All right, that's that. Okay. 10 key dates to watch as government shutdowns nears record length is from USA Today, from Joey Garrison today. So what are the 10 key dates, right, with this? Let's see. October 22nd, shutdown becomes the second largest. So that is tomorrow. If the shutdown continues into Wednesday, it will become the second largest at 22 days, trailing only the 35 day shutdown in the 2017 during Trump's first term in office. The 1995 shutdown during the President Bill Clinton was sparked by a spending disagreement before Clinton and Democrats. Republicans-led House Speaker Newt Gingrich was not continuing his shutdown, but rather two separate shutdowns from November 14th, 1995, and later December 16th to January 6th, 1996. October 1st, first full paychecks of federal workers missed on October 24th. Right? All right. Trump leaves for Asia, October 25th. Trump is set to depart Washington on Saturday for multi-day, multi-country visit to Asia. Right? So, again, he'll be out of the country. October 31st, next paycheck for military members due. Members of the military received their October 15th paychecks, but it's unclear whether they have the money for their next paychecks on Halloween. Right? That could be a problem. October 31st and November 5th, next checks for congressional staff. Staff members of the U.S. Senators missed their first paychecks on Monday. They will miss their next paycheck scheduled for November 5th if the showdown is still going on. House aides are paid once a month and are at risk of missing their October 31st paychecks. November 1st, open enrollment for Obamacare begins. Democrats have circled November 1st as a key deadline for Congress to extend the expiring Affordable Care Act credits as part of the bill to reopen government. November 1st is when open enrollment for ACA, the ACA, also known as Obamacare. Again, Head Start funding at risk. Early childhood Head Start programs are on November 1st. November 5th, record longest shutdown on there. All right, and November 21st, Thanksgiving travel begins before the holiday, and that's when Congress will be out. So that's all of the critical dates here for you, if you're following along. All right, we're going to go into politics here. So the people who don't want to hear it, that's fine. But I think you're going to want to hear this one because there's a lot of crap going on that nobody is talking about. But we're going to talk about it here on Safety FM.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
Have you listened or watched the Safety War show? It does stream live on the radio and on the streamer-emers that we have. So if you have not taken a listen to Jim Posel and what the hell he's doing every evening with Safety Wars, I would strongly encourage you to take a view or take a listen, whichever option is available for you, and take a listen to what the hell he has going on. It will take some deep dives and some information that you might be interested in.
In an unpredictable world, one voice rises above the chaos. Meet Jim Posel, a seasoned safety expert who's navigated through some of the most dangerous scenarios, from anthrax, explosive cleanups, disasters, and numerous environmental cleanups, and lived to tell the tale. Now he's bringing his wealth of knowledge, insights, and experiences to you through Safety Wars. From workplace hazards to the hidden dangers in your own home, Jim covers it all with his engaging storytelling. Safety Wars isn't just a podcast, it's your guide to a safer world. Join Jim Posel and become part of the Safety Wars revolution. Available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts and videos. Safety Wars. Your safety is our mission.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion, the book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Posel at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces.
Mechanical birds above
Yeah, you
our
thought you would never hear this song
watching
again.
secrets and the streets we tread, beeping lights and wings of chrome, guiding paths as we roll.
This is Eyes in the Sky.
In New Jersey skies they hover high, whispers carried by the night, silent judges in the drone, leading us to the unknown.
And that was Safety Warrior with Eyes in the Sky. I put that one together early this year, late last year, with all these drone sightings in New Jersey. It turns out they finally released what the hell was going on. It was a private company trying to do prove technology, right, for this. Because, again, my impression is that it was military related, and I'll stick by that because we're running low out there. I mean, they're talking with the Ukraine, and as we previously said on this program, we've had an ammunition shortage in this country since 2010 for conventional arms, with very limited way of replacing them because all of these smelters went offline, and for them to start giving weapons away, I don't think that's a good idea, regardless of what your opinion is. Oh yeah, by the way, let me mention this again. I mentioned it over the weekend on the little thing I did on the No Kings rally, right? Oh, I had an accident. I was going to be here Friday night, and right before showtime, I had an accident, of all things. Trip and fall while I was carrying things, and went into my face. You can see right here I got like a mark on my nose. I got a little bit of a black eye, that sort of thing. Looking better than it was Saturday morning and Friday night, and then it got really bad Saturday. It was nuts. Now, let's talk about politics here, because I think, as I had a discussion with a loved one today, who's to blame, right? And I know blame fixes nothing, but if you were to blame someone, or let's say if you were going to improve things, let's frame it in that way, for the situation in New York City. For those of you worldwide out there, you have three people. You have, and I can't pronounce his first name, Mamdani. He is the Democratic candidate, far left. All right, and then you have the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, who lost to Mamdani in the Democratic primary, and he's running it as what we used to call sore losers as second, as another candidate. Then you had the Republican nominee, Curtis Sliwa, who has basically been on for the last 4 years since he ran last time and lost. Now this is 4 years later, a nonstop campaign, and he like I'm a safety shock jock. He's like one of the original shock jocks. And just for complete disclosure here, I have met Curtis several times when I was involved in politics back in the day. Now, I want to point out something here. Right? Who's to blame? It's Republicans are to blame. You have 2 freaking weeks left in an election. Election day. You're scrambling to get your candidate off the ballot in some cases, thinking that he's going to be to elect Governor Cuomo, who was your arch enemy for 8 years. Really? Who the hell put you in this situation? But it was you folks. The latest poll is this. Right, Curtis Sliwa is not leaving the race as of 2 hours ago. This is from MSN.com, story by Alan Devlin. With the New York City's mayoral now in the home stretch, Republican candidate Sliwa is facing mounting pressure to drop out, including from John Catsimatidis, Sid Rosenberg this morning. I believe that's so. Pardon me, from WABC in New York. I get the hiccups every time I'm on the air. And everything, right? Curtis ain't leaving. Now, there are pros and cons to this. Here, right now, last poll, if Curtis drops out, Cuomo is in a statistical tie with Mamdani, right? That's basically what it comes down. Well, I'm sorry. Even with push against Sliwa to drop out follows poll released by AARP, That has Mamdani leading 43% of the vote in the three-man race, 14 points ahead of Cuomo, which would set the Queen's Assembly up for decisive victory come November 4th. However, that same poll says in a two-man race, Cuomo, a moderate Democrat running as an independent, polls within the 4-point margin of error against Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, setting up a closer battle between the two. Again, this is MSN saying that. Silua, though, added Tuesday plans to cast his vote for himself on the first day of early voting on Saturday, putting a theoretical nail in the coffin for the chances of him dropping out. His candidacy has been bolstered by the support of 5 Republican county chairmen who say he should stay in the race because party loyalists will not back Cuomo. All right, so now, you're going to say, well, Jim, you mean that the Republicans are blamed because of this? No. Republicans know how to win. Know how to win. They had Rudy Giuliani elected in 1992. They had Bloomberg, who came on as a Republican, then went independent, right? It was for ballot access. Right after that, stayed on another 8 years. So however you want to measure that, Republican or Democrat. The question is this. Some people feel it's a waste of time. I don't think it's a waste of time. Not by a long shot. You cannot be worried about the next election, especially when you're a Republican in New York. You have to be worried about movement. You got to be worried about it 2, 3 elections down the line. That's what you have to have the long-term thing. What has the Republican Party done in New York City and in New York in general, from Rockland County down south, to make people want to vote for them? What have they done to educate their voters? Again, you get in a national organization, an organizer out there. That's what they're going to ask. What are we doing to get people mobilized? What are we doing here? What are we doing there? This is not very hard, folks. So the Republicans, on one hand, they're between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, you don't want Mamdani in, so you want Curtis Lewa to drop out. On the other hand, Curtis Lewa drops out, let's say Cuomo does win, you're further marginalized. What's your plan after that? What is your plan not on Tuesday, the election day? Your plan is, what are you going to do about it after you take the weekend off and you come in the following Monday and start working for the next election? That should be your plan. Again, 4-year cycle. Educate, run candidates. Educate, and then the 4th year is get out the vote. You shouldn't be educating. You shouldn't be relying on the media, the mainstream media. Right now they're quote-unquote reforming a little bit because Trump is there and he's not going to give them any of the coverage that they want. So now it's on their end. Well, now they're threatening FCC licenses, which, by the way, the threatening of FCC licenses goes way back Democrat and Republican administrations for many years for favorable coverage. Right? They grant them. Right? Quid pro quo. Internet is now doing what's your plan after that? That's what it is. Now, for the people who are saying here, now we have 400,000, right? So let's do that. We had this past weekend, and I'm going to disagree with the president on here. We had 7 million people show up for the No Kings rally this past weekend. First No Kings rally earlier this year was 2 to 4.8 million people. Now, first and foremost, after October 16th, 1996, which we're going to talk about then, Million Man March and out there was a lawsuit against, and I don't know if it started with that, but there was they started filing lawsuits against the National Park Service and other government agencies that make these estimates because there was some disagreement, so they stopped making the estimates, was their things so they don't get sued. So, 7 million. Now, the president says And you had 2 to 4 million in, I believe it was June. The president says it's not a big deal. It's only a drop in the bucket. Oh, really? Don't worry about it. All right, now, we have other large things. Glenn Beck, 9/12, I believe it was 2010. 75,000 people in Washington, D.C. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. 250,000 people. Tea Party, all right, the Million Man March. And October 16, my birthday, 1995, my mom said, hey, you're always going to remember that day. And I always do. Right? Major event there. 400,000, 1.2 million people. Tea Party, according to the Gallup polls in 2010 to 2014, anywhere from 21 to 32% of Americans are in the Tea Party movement. So what happened over the weekend was roughly 2%, right? But the Tea Party, longer term, multiple rallies, somewhere around, I don't know how many people would, at least the number of people who voted for Biden or for Harris would probably be the ones who would agree with the Kings, right? No Kings rally. I mean, guess that. What's my point? In 1995, I've been attacked by the microphone. Desk must not be level. 1995, there was a person out there who was 35 years old. He went to the Million Man March and he called it one of those mountaintop moments, I guess you would call it. Inspiration. An inventor from my neighborhood, Edison, New Jersey, by the name of Thomas Edison, said, no, success is 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration, right? You have a 35-year-old person, prime of life, who decided, who got inspired, got more involved, and he turned himself into the President of the United States and was inaugurated in 2009, 14 short years. You had a movement that I was involved in, the Tea Party movement, which was for tax, right up in Northeast, was taxed enough already. Some of the other groups got involved in some other issues here, but it was taxed enough already. You had 21 to 32% of the party there up until 2016. And what we did, and I ran as a candidate in 2009 and 2010, local, everybody was watching our movement, right? What we were doing. And it was grew out of the Ron Paul campaign and the Alan Keyes campaign of the mid-2000s, to a lesser extent, but it was still there. People were watching what we were doing. People were inspired. It got people to go out there and think that maybe we don't have to vote down the line. We could go a little bit, even in the primary or the general election, offline. And what ended up happening? What ended up happening was we had the election of Donald Trump. Right, so from 2009, and some people put it at 2008. It really was the second from the last week of February 2009, and then I was recruited the following week, and I have proof of this because I was the cameraman at the one in the first one in, or the second, depending on how you want to count, in Washington, D.C. I have the footage. So you had there, and it was a very organic thing. It was along the lines of, hey, Jimmy, do you have a camera? Or they came into the bar at a convention I was at and said, does anybody have a camera? And I said, yeah. Can you meet us at the White House tomorrow and at whatever time it was, 1 o'clock in the afternoon? And blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, who are you? And let me buy you a drink. And, of course, I forget who that was exactly, but it was somebody who at the time was very recognizable from TV. So I went down there. We have videotaped. Again, with that. Now, here you have 7 million people, and the president saying, well, that's not going to, that ain't nothing. Don't bet your life. You got a problem there. Republicans have a problem. If you're a conservative, you have a problem. You have that many people in that out there protesting, and I'll use the line from the left, right? Mostly peaceful protesting, right? Mostly. Yeah, there was some violence. Seattle, Portland, Denver. Right? Other places, again, not reported violence, but I can assure that there were issues when you get that number of people together. You got a problem because that now you have, and it's the same problem as New York City, and you've abandoned areas and you refuse to educate the voter. Not in rhetoric, not Trump good, Trump bad, Biden good, Biden bad, Harris good, Harris bad. Not like that. That's not what we're talking about. Educate on the issues, appeal to people's higher, better self. Organize. Remember the 4 years, right? Educate, get out, run some candidates, educate, and then the 4th year, get out to vote and develop your own media apparatus to manage these things. Public relations, media controls. It's not that hard of a, not that hard, not that difficult. That's what the Republicans need to do. Educate. So if you're a liberal and you hate your candidates out there, you can blame the Republicans for not giving you an alternative. The Democrats, why aren't you promoting well, Democrats already have this down. They already have this. You're not going to mobilize 7 million people without having this down already. And the pendulum, right, has gone the other way. So this is what I'm going to encourage everybody to do. Get educated and learn and think for yourself, because just like with those drones, you're being manipulated. You're being manipulated with this stuff. So for Safety Wars and Safety FM, this is Jim Posel signing off.